Shalom and welcome to another Chamor podcast from abedan, teaching Noahide Judaism for Messianic Hebrews. It's Friday, the 13th of December, 2024, and we are in the Messianic Noahide equivalent of Ramadan right now. Of course, Khutbah comes from the Judeo-Arabic term Khutbah, which means a kind of a summary, a story, a report. And we do it sometimes before the Sabbath starts, which is about this time. So we're doing it on Friday afternoons before the Sabbath starts. And so if there are any Muslims who have seen the word khutbah and thought, I'll pop along to listen to that, they'll be a bit surprised or shocked to hear that we're not talking about Islam. But it shouldn't be, because Islam has its origins in Messianic Noahide Judaism, and as does Christianity. And so both of them have got some things in common because of their common origin. And I encourage you all to come back to the common origin and you'll understand what's going on. So today we're going to look at, we've got a lot of interesting things happening in this week we have to report on. For example, we had the situation with Assad leaving Syria and going to settle down in Russia. And we talked about the situation that Moscow is facing with its desire to create and maintain a Cold War. Nobody is really taking them seriously. And I think one thing which I didn't say, which I think I should say at this point, is that I think now that Assad is out of Syria, one thing that Russia could do to try and help convince the world that they are serious about having a Cold War now and it's really, really tough time, is if they were to nuke ISIS, for example. If you dropped a nuclear bomb on ISIS compound, since Assad is out of Syria, you don't have to have any loyalty to Syria right now. If you nuked ISIS, since America has been bombing ISIS too, you would be bombing somebody, a group of people who have got no allies or support anywhere in the world. They're not NATO. They're not going to get NATO running and backing them saying, how dare you bomb ISIS? We're going to defend ISIS from now on, because NATO themselves are bombing ISIS. So you would at the same time send a gigantic message to the West that you're not joking when it comes to using nuclear weapons now. You're serious about this and it's back into full Cold War. And I think if you did that, then people would pull out of Ukraine pretty quickly, stop giving Ukraine weapons and say, I'm sorry, no, we're not going to be involved in that. Russia has just demonstrated they're pretty serious about restoring the Cold War. It's full-on nuclear Armageddon time, so let's just pull back. And that would lead to proper demarcation in the world of a full sort of iron curtain coming down. And that is, I think, what Putin would prefer than going to full war. He doesn't really want to go to war, but he does want to return to the Cold War situation. And I think that doing something like that is really all he could do, something up his sleeve, which would send a massive sign. You couldn't bomb anybody else. You couldn't bomb any kind of group which got a friendly relationship with NATO. Sadly, that means you couldn't bomb Nusra, because they are the ones who are being supported by NATO. You'd have to just bomb ISIS itself, and you'd have to nuke them to show that you are actually really serious. So that's where I think that's going, and it's a great pity that this is all happening right now. But such is the volatile nature of the unstable world we live in right now today. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the brotherhood of mankind and where we come from, so that we can understand, we shouldn't be going to war with each other. We shouldn't be bombing each other. We shouldn't be restoring all this. We should try to all come together. But of course, it's very difficult in this situation. We understand the political situation. Egos are at play. There's a lot of politics, of course, with regards to protecting financial interests, economic interests, and of course, territorial interests. And there is an intention to sort of dominate the world in different areas. So all of that is real, and it's not going to go away just by a conversation. But meanwhile, we do have to think, is there anything more to this? Is there anything more to the world? And there is. And we've got to talk about the brotherhood of mankind. And I think that's what we should look at right now. So I've got this on the screen now. And I'm going to explain to you how we are all related. First of all, I suppose we're also going to look at not just Genesis chapter 4, the descendants of Cain. We're also going to look at this, which is the haplogroup tree, family tree of all of humanity, which shows that we're all families on the planet. Everybody who is conceived by a man on the planet, everybody who's conceived by a sperm, a human sperm on the planet, is part of this tree. You're going to have a place somewhere on this tree is where you're going to be placed. This is the family tree of all mankind based on the Y chromosomal haplogroup. Okay, and let's see, it says there the root. This is science, by the way. This is not a joke. This is real. This is the Y chromosomal Adam. Okay, and what we have here before all of mankind splits up into different groups, you've got something called the haplogroup A. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And let me count that again. Maybe I've missed it. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then sort of 6 levels of humanity. Okay. Now all of these are the descendants of Cain, and you look into the Bible here. We have Cain, and it talks about his origins and his descendants. So there's Cain as 1, and then Enoch is 2, Mehujael is 3, Methusael is 4. Oops. I should have shared this. Make sure that you're able to see this. Yes. And then have I missed that? Let's go. Lamech is 5, and then Lamech's children are 6. Okay, let's go through that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then his children would be 6 down here. Of course, with Adam, who's the ancestor of them all, that would be 7 in total. But there are 6 levels here. So the 6th level splits into 3. The descendants of Cain. He has 3 descendants, and there's no date given to these. These are just ancient, prehistoric ancestors of mankind. 3 basic lineages they talk about for all of mankind. That's Jabal line, the Jubal line, and the Tubal-Cain line. And all human beings come from these 3 lineages. So that Jabal, Jubal, and Tubal-Cain line, if we go back to the haplogroup of all mankind, that Jabal, Jubal, and Tubal-Cain is basically here. Jabal, Jubal, and Tubal-Cain. Okay, sorry, it's actually the other way around. This is Tubal-Cain, and this is Jabal and Jubal. So this group is the Tubal-Cain, and Jabal and Jubal are the twins. So that's why we have this group. Haplogroup C is Jabal, haplogroup F is Jubal, and DE is Tubal-Cain. And so those are the lineages of all of mankind. Now, the Hebrew tradition says that there was a mission, a spiritual mission, a religious mission, which went out to these children of Cain in order to sort of retrieve them and bring them back to God, to the worship of the one true God of Hashem, and make them into believers. And that mission is described not in chapter 4. That mission is described. It describes, starts in it begins at the very beginning, is at the end of chapter 4. It is the very, very end of chapter 4 when it says, very bad translation, and Adam again had relations with his wife. The actual word it uses here is od, moreover. In addition, furthermore, Adam had relations with his wife, and she gave birth to a son named Seth, saying, God had granted me another seed in place of Abel, since Cain killed him. And Seth also was a son called him Enosh, and at that time men came and called upon the name of the Lord, Hashem, which is the Anshe Hashem, the people of God's name came into existence, the Semitic people. So this Adam and his wife are not the same Ha-Adam and Chava, who were the ancestors of Cain, although that's understood to be the case. And the relationship, the descent of Seth from Adam, this is the lineage of this, what we call in Judaism, the children of God. The children of God are not born by flesh, they're born by spirit. So this Adam is not a fleshy ancestor, this is a spiritual ancestor. This is what we call Adam Kadmon. His wife, of course, is not flesh either. His wife is the Talpiot, the heavenly abode, the New Jerusalem, as it's called in the Messianic traditions. So this idea of Adam Kadmon and the heavenly abode also had children to replace lost Abel. Abel was replaced by the children of Adam Kadmon and his wife, and they became spiritual children on the planet as well, among the children of Cain. Okay, and that is how the lineage comes. So this is what we call the second Adam. The first Adam is Ha-Adam. He's wicked. God repents that he has made him. He actually says that he repented from making Ha-Adam in Genesis chapter 6. And he says, I'm going to wipe him off the face of the planet because all of his thoughts all day long are evil and wicked, and he wants to get rid of him. The wickedness of Ha-Adam is what it talks about here. And so the Lord regretted that he had made Adam on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. And he said, I will blot out Ha-Adam, whom I've created from the face of the earth, all of Ha-Adam and beast and crawling creature of the air, for I am grieved that I have made them. They've been corrupted by Ha-Adam. Everything touched by Ha-Adam is wicked and evil, and so Ha-Adam is pure evil. Whereas Adam Kadmon, Adam, who we get the phrase the sons of God, mentioned at the end of chapter 4 here, this is the second Adam. This is purely good. This is the prophet Adam. This is the holy Adam. This is the one referred to in the Gospel of Luke. Chapter 3 is Adam, son of God. This is the good Adam. So it's a different Adam, and it's the second Adam. And it's a spiritual Adam, giving a spiritual lineage. So these are not children born of flesh, but they're children born of spirit, and they're a lineage which comes out of a spiritual lineage. And so this spiritual lineage began only, there's debate, there's lots of discussion about it, but it only began about 6,000 years ago. Some people say, well, it began 7,000 years ago. The maximum outside number is 7,500 years ago. And the minimum inside number is around 5,800 years ago. So that's the range of time it began. We'll say 6,000 years ago is pretty safe, and that's okay. So it gives you the beginning of the Hebrew calendar in chapter 5 of the book of Genesis, and it talks about, and we get the dates here. After 130 years of Adam teaching on the planet, then finally, a spiritual lineage was born who could be truly called children of Adam Kadmon, and that is the lineage of Seth. And then the Seth tribe, or the Seth city, the Seth settlement, or the Seth dynasty lasted for a long time after the preservation of Adam's religion was going on, and then Adam's religion started to die out after a total of 930 years. But the Seth lineage continued it, and the Seth lineage died out, or the Seth dynasty, the Seth settlement, town, city, started to die out after 807 years, and then there was an Enosh dynasty, which was also contemporary with the other two. And then there was a Canaan dynasty, which was also contemporary with the other two, and a Mahalalel dynasty, which was contemporary with the other two, and a Jared dynasty, which was contemporary with the other two, and an Enoch dynasty, which was contemporary with the other two. Enoch, of course, named after the ancestral Enoch, which is the son of Cain. And all of this has got a timeline to it. But with regards to the sons of Cain, we have no idea how long ago that was. It's just like prehistory. And that corresponds to what we learn from this lineage as well. This lineage is prehistoric. There's no way we can possibly associate the haplogroup D, E, and C, and F with the children of Noah, which is what a lot of people try to do. There's just simply no way we can associate them with the children of Noah, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, because Ham, Shem, and Japheth were a very long time after all of this. They're not that long ago. They're about 3,100 BC. And there's no way that we can possibly imagine that the lineages which are described here, from which all of humankind descend, are only as recent as 3,100 BC. That's just ridiculous insanity to believe that that's the case. And I know a lot of creationists and fundamental, Bible fundamentalists who think that they are expressing a Judaic kind of belief by being doggedly literal about the dates given in the Bible and the Hebrew calendar, think that they are true Bible believers, but in fact they are not reflecting Judaism at all whatsoever. They don't have any understanding of how we are, even if many of them convert to Judaism and try to bring their Protestant ideas with them, they are not reflective of biblical belief. We've never, ever said that the world was created that long ago, 6,000 years ago. We've never ever said that. We've always known that it was created God knows how long beforehand, and that the children of Cain were all on the planet a long time before the lineage of Adam Kadmon began and the Hebrew mission on this planet began 6,000 years ago. We've never believed that the world was only 6,000 years old. That's a Christian belief, but Christians are, from the point of view of Judaism, misguided and are following a false religion, Christianity, rather than following the truth of the origin of their faith, Messianic Noahide Judaism, which would tell them be more scientific, be more logical, be more rational, and there is no contradiction between fact and science and logic and reasoning and the Bible if you understand the Bible in the right way, which is what the Pharisees have always tried to teach. The scribes and the Pharisees have taught us. So there's just no way we can say that the lineage of mankind, which come from these groups here, haplogroup D, haplogroup E, and haplogroup C and haplogroup F, or rather we could say haplogroup DE, haplogroup C and F. There's no way we can say that these lineages began only 3,100 BC. It's impossible. But that is when the time of Noah and his sons was, and the flood. That's all happening around 3,100 BC, according to the chronology. So what can we do about this? Well, it's very simple, because, as I said, the religious people were spreading a mission. You say, but the world was flooded. No, the world wasn't flooded. Haaretz was flooded. And Haaretz was flooded, and everybody in Haaretz died, but not everybody on the planet was flooded, and not everybody on the planet died. The idea of a global flood, which affected absolutely everyone on the planet, no matter how many civilizations there are which talk about a flood, okay, it's simply madness to believe that this is a global flood, that there was enough water to flood the entire planet and it all happened once upon a time. It just did not happen. What did happen is a local flood in the area where all of these people were living, and that is basically Sumeria. Sumeria was flooded. That did happen. It was a terrible flood. It happened 3,100 years BC, the same as the Bible tells us when it happened, and the rest of the world was not affected. So this family of Noah sort of spread out around the world from Sumeria, and it's pretty well known that a lot of agriculture spread out around the world from Sumeria. And if there are traditions which are too similar to the biblical tradition of the flood, for example, the Hindu version of the flood story, it's so similar, it's very clear that it had its origin also in the Sumerian story. But other versions of the flood story might not be so similar. They might be just, well, that could be any flood. You know, it doesn't mean the whole world. It just means any flood could have been described in that particular story. So, but still, agriculture spreads with people, and even if it's only 3,100 BC, some of those agricultural techniques spread across into the Americas, into North America and South America. So there was clearly continual migration going across, perhaps across the Bering Strait. And so along with that agriculture, which spread, and agricultural techniques and pottery, which spread from Sumeria, along went the stories of the flood, which could be similar. So don't look for something which is too ancient and back in time to be a universal flood, which all people remember. Better and more logical is to look for migration of certain people with certain techniques and civilization techniques from Sumeria, who went around the world and took with them the story of the flood of Sumeria with them. This is more realistic, and that is in keeping with the biblical story. The whole land was flooded, and Ha'adam, of course, was basically the dynasty which ruled in Sumeria, which had to be destroyed. That is the Ha'adam dynasty. But even after they destroyed them, there were still Kenites. Children of Cain were still on the planet. So that's very clear from the Bible. Somehow the Kenites were not destroyed, even though Ha'adam himself, or his lineage, his dynasty in Sumeria, was destroyed. And so that's the correct understanding there. So after the flood, which it says Noah's got this, he's got his three sons there, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Of course, got Noah's father Lamech is named after the ancestral Lamech, who is the son or the descendant of Cain. And you've got Ham, Shem, and Japheth there. So we're going to look at the Ham, Shem, and Japheth. In Genesis 6, it talks about the preparing for the ark, and why God was angry with mankind. And then you've got the flood in Genesis 7. And then you've got the ark coming to rest in Ararat, and then sending out the doves, and then building an altar and offering on the altar. And then you've got chapter 9, the Rainbow Covenant, which is what we talk about, the Rainbow Covenant, the Covenant of Noah, the 7 laws of Noah, the universal Judaism. Judaism is applies for all of mankind, which comes in there. And then we've got the sin of Canaan, who slept with Noah's second wife, young second wife. Her name was Naamah. Canaan slept with her. Ham discovered that his son had slept with her. He was totally distressed about it. Shem and Japheth went in to try and cover up the situation, but Noah found out about what had happened, and he actually blessed Shem and Japheth, blessed Japheth for trying to hide the shame, and cursed Canaan for what he had done. Cursed be Canaan for the sin there. So Ham doesn't get any particular blessing because he didn't try to cover up the situation. Shem and Japheth did, but then Ham was totally distressed by the situation and was heartbroken that his son had done such a wicked thing to his stepmother. And that's called uncovering. And, he saw his father's nakedness uncovered. Thou shalt not uncover thy father's nakedness means commit a sexual act with your father's wife, basically. So that's a phrase in Judaism. And then after that, in chapter 10, you have the Table of Nations, where the sons of Noah go out. Shem, Ham, and Japheth go out, and they spread their mission in different directions. Now, Japheth goes to the children of Jabal, who are famous for living in tents, nomadic lifestyle, and things like that. The Central Asians, if you like. And that corresponds really to haplogroup C. All of these groups in haplogroup C are associated with that. You can see in this little lineage here, we've got some in China and Japan. I don't know what that one stands for. Is that Cambodia, China, Japan, Korea? And what else have we got on the list here as you go down to the lineage? What's that? The People's Republic of Korea, Canada. Okay, some native Canadians, Aboriginal Canadians. Russia, Spain. Some made it to Spain. Austria, Hungary, Germany. What's this country here? Algeria. Some made it to Algeria. Poland. More in Spain, Armenia, Great Britain, Ukraine, Turkey, Egypt, Italy, Greece, Australia, Ethiopia, New Zealand. What's this one? PNG is Papua New Guinea. And what's that one? SGP, Singapore, Thailand, more in China, Pakistan, Singapore, Bangladesh, Kuwait, more in Turkey, Saudi Arabia, some in India, Turkey, what's that? Sri Lanka, more in India, more in Saudi Arabia, Oman, that looks like, yeah, Oman. And it goes on, there's a lot of India there. Did I miss one? Is that Ecuador? Yeah, Ecuador. And it goes down to Slovakia and Mongolia, and more in Turkey, Mongolia, Czech Republic, Hungary, Kazakhstan, Hungary, Turkey, China, Kyrgyzstan, more Kazakhstan, more Turkey. There's lots of Turkey and Kazakhstan in this list. A lot of China, Turkey, Kazakhstan. It's probably Mongolia. Afghanistan is there. China, Russia, of course, lots of Russia. And you get the kind of picture as we go down: Kazakhstan, Russia, Mongolia, China, Kyrgyzstan. There's lots and lots of what we call the Turanic people in this list. So the Turanic people, that's the people of Jabal, who descend from haplogroup C. These are ones that the children of Japheth went to. Japheth's mission, the Noahide Judaic mission of Japheth's people was to Jabal, to the lineage of haplogroup C, and all of those people that descend from Mongolians, Kazakhstan, Turkey, Inner Mongolian, China, Kyrgyzia, Russia, Ukraine, Hungary. These are Gomer, Magog, Madai, Yavan, Tubal, Meshech, Tiras, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarma. These are the people who went to these different tribes and tried to teach them about the 7 laws of Noah. That doesn't mean that the name of the tribe was Gomer. It means that the person who went to teach the people of a particular tribe was called Gomer. Magog was a missionary. Madai was a missionary. All of these are names of missionaries who went to these places. And some of these places and some of these tribes adopted and accepted the missionary and accepted the teachings on the 7 laws of Noah as a basic, what we call Torah, Torah, which is actually not Yiddish, although it is exactly the same word in Yiddish. It's actually a Turkic word to refer to, or a Turanic word to refer to the law. Okay, so it's the Torah of Japheth, which is the law. This is a Kazakh word, a Kyrgyz word. It's the law which was brought to them by Japheth's descendants, the missionaries, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Yavan, Tubal, Meshech, Tiras, Ashkenaz, Riphath, Togarma, and Yavan and all of Yavan's descendants, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittites, Grodanites. From all of those are the mission to the Turanic people, who are the descendants of Jabal, who lived in tents, and that's basically means nomadic people of Central Asia, Turanic people. Interestingly, in Persian mythology, legend, folklore, the name for that person is called Tur, which is why we call them Turanic, because it comes from this. So those Jabal people that Japheth went to are called Tur, or maybe even Tur is the phrase for Japheth himself and his descendants. So that's Tur in the Persian legend, Japheth in the Semitic tradition, and Jabal was supposed to be the name before the Semitic people came to them, or at least that's a phrase we used to refer to them before the Semitic people came to them. So the next tribe, or the next mission, was the Hamites, Ham, the sons of Ham, and we should look at the haplogroup tree again. So we'll go back to the tree and we'll look at Ham's descendants. Ham's descendants are haplogroup DE. Sorry, not Ham's descendants. Ham's mission was sent to haplogroup DE, I should say. And so Ham's mission, the missionaries of Ham's mission, it's interesting, the word Ham is where we get the word Chemet from, which refers to Africa. The word, this is the Egyptian word for Africa, is Chemet, which comes from the same word Ham. So Ham's mission was to Cush, Mitzrayim, or the missionaries were called Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, and Canaan. And Cush's children, or the missionaries descended from Cush branch, were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Rama, and Sabteka. And the descendants of Rama, the missionaries who come from the Rama lineage, were Sheba and Dedan. And then we have the lineage coming from Cush. The missionaries descended from the Cush lineage are Nimrod. And Nimrod's main area of focus was Babylon, Erech, Akkad, Kalne, land of Shinar. And that was before Ashur went. We don't have to talk about Ashur right now. He's not actually the same lineage, so we can skip Ashur. And then also Mitzrayim was another missionary descended from the Ham line. And Mitzrayim had missionaries who went out to create missions, which were the Luddite mission, the Anamite mission, the Lechabite mission, the Naphtuhite mission, the Pathrusite mission, the Kaslachite mission, from whom the Philistine mission came. Because once upon a time, Philistines were good. Remember in the book of Genesis, when they were really friendly and close and affectionate with Abraham, they loved him. And once upon a time, there were good Philistines. And later on, hundreds of years later, the Philistines became enemies to the children of the descendants of Abraham. But at first, they were very, very amiable. They got along very well. So that's because they were all Noahides. They had a Philistine mission. There was the Caphtorite mission, which we get the word Egypt from. Gipt, Copt, comes from Caphtor. So the Copts are actually a mission which began and are mentioned in the Bible there, the Copts, Kaftor. You also get the word Jupiter from that, of course. Sometimes when they had this mission comes amongst them, they corrupt the tradition, they corrupt into pagans, and they go astray, just like Christianity went astray from Messianic Noahide Judaism, and Islam went astray from Messianic Noahide Judaism. So too did these missions. Many of these missions went astray, which is why many of these religions around the world have elements of truth which come from the biblical message, but have been corrupted over the time. So Jupiter, the ancestor of, or the ancestor god of the Romans, for example, Jupiter, who they worshipped, or Iapetus, I suppose, in other places. This Jupiter was actually from Kaftor. He wasn't a god ancestor of the Romans, but actually he was a missionary who had tried to teach a group of people who obviously Romans descend from about the oneness of God, the true message, and they ended up mistaking him and making him into a god himself, the same as people have misunderstood the message of Jesus, for example. And then you've got the mission of Canaan. Now, Canaan was wicked. Remember, he was not a good guy. So from the beginning, Canaan, the missionary Canaan, was the wicked missionary. He was guilty of sleeping with his grandfather's young second wife, Nama. And so Canaan's mission was cursed from the beginning. Noah said it's cursed, it's doomed. There's no way that Canaan's people are going to learn the truth from such a wicked person as Canaan. But nevertheless, he did start a mission, and his missionaries descended from him were called Sidon, the Hivite mission, the Jebusite mission, the Amorite mission, the Girgashite mission, the Hivite mission, the Arkite mission, the Sinite mission, which Mount Sinai and the Sinites come from, the Sinites come from the Arvadite mission and the Zemarite mission and the Hamathite mission. All of this is to do with Canaan. Now, as Noah predicted, most of the descendants of Canaan were cursed. They had total misunderstanding of how things went. Later, the Canaanite clans were scattered, and their borders were the borders of Canaan went from Sidon towards Gerar and Gaza, and then towards Sodom and Gomorrah and Admah and Zeboim as far as Lasha. And so this is the Canaanite mission, and it becomes important because Canaan's mission was so rotten, it was so corrupt and such a big, huge, massive failure that God had to send the children of Israel to the same place to try and restore some kind of level of truth to those people, so they could have some hope of getting salvation, because Canaan just screwed up such a terrible way, big time. So only a few of them managed, to survive. Basically, Sidon gets by, the Sinites sort of get by, and that's really, the main ones I remember. I mean, there are, what else? There's seven of the groups definitely did not get by. We know what happened to Gomorrah and Sodom, for example. They total failures, absolute failures. But the Sinites get by, and their descendants still exist to this day. So the haplogroup for Canaan is haplogroup D. We're looking here. Most of them have been destroyed over time. They mostly don't exist anymore. But some did survive until the current day. And you can got the location of the descendants of Canaan's mission would be the ones who survived to the present day and who were not destroyed over the time as they were supposed to be replaced and destroyed for total absolute wickedness by the children of Israel. But they survived because they were descendants of Sinai, for example, or they were descendants of Sidon, for example, and others who were not considered so wicked. So you've got survivors of Canaan's mission in Yemen, in the Philippines, in India, Japan. They got as far as that, probably the Ainu, for example, Korea, Japan, China. The mission went to these places. Now, of course, these are actually descendants of Tubal-Cain. And maybe you could say, one group is Tubal and the other group is Cain. But actually, it's Tubal-Cain is the whole group. But the Tubal-Cains got all over the place. And in fact, there is actually a club, the Two Balls and a Cain. It's a kind of a joke. Tubal-Cain is a club which exists all around the world for people who believe that they descend from Tubal-Cain. And they have a symbol of golf as their favorite sport. Two balls two golf balls and a golf club are the symbol of the Tubal Cain sort of club, who all believe they have a common descent, and they're all over the world. So you're going to find them everywhere, and they know that they descend from Canaan. So you've got, as I said, so we've got Japan and China, lots of Japan there, more China, some Kazakhstan, you've got some Iran, you've got some Ukraine, you've got some Turkey, China, and what else have we got? Singapore, United States, more China, the Sinites, you see, the Sinitic languages, if you didn't know, are the Chinese Sino-Tibetan languages. They call the Sino-Tibetan languages, which is Sinitic. You see, Sinai survives in China. You've got Taiwan there as well, Japan. Obviously, places like Taiwan and Japan and Korea are going to be having Sino-Tibetan influence because they're right next to the Sinitic people. And more China, Uzbekistan, of course, as well. So you've got quite a lot of them surviving there, and just a few, surviving in the Middle East. But that's because not everybody in the planet has been tested. But the ones who have been tested give you kind of an idea of where these descendants of Cain ended up. So they ended up in those places, Sinites, as we say, Sinitic people. Okay. So let's move on to look at something else. So Canaan is there, and then the rest of the children of Ham, that was the Cushites and the Mitzrayimites and the Puttites are all in the other branch of Tubal Cain's lineage. So the other branch of Tubal Cain's lineage is haplogroup E. So we look at haplogroup E and we get an idea of where they ended up. I happen to be in haplogroup E myself. So paternal lineage descends directly from this group, from this Tubal Cain group. And by the way, many Jews descend from this group. In fact, the haplogroup E is prevalent, unlike any other haplogroup among the Jewish people. Every Jewish community around the planet always has a representative haplogroup E among them. They have representatives. I think it's around 25% of every Jewish community in the world is haplogroup E, whereas all the other haplogroups in the Jewish communities may only be in some of the Jewish communities, but not all of them. So the only one which is in every single Jewish community is haplogroup E, and that doesn't mean that because we represent 25% of every Jewish community that we are therefore the original Semitic sort of people, and everybody else is a convert. It just simply means that we are an extremely ancient strata of Hebrew speakers who went out with the original missionaries in all the directions. So certainly we were missionaries, and we ended up in every Jewish community. But it doesn't mean that we are like the direct patrilineal descendants of Abraham. It just means that we were part of that original mission, part of the Abraham's people, because of course Abraham had people from all of the children of Noah in his group among his men. He literally led an army. So one of those people, went accompanied the children of Israel and became the part of the people of Israel throughout history. So it means that we're just a particularly ancient group. Anyway, the ancestry of is Tubal Cain. That's what this lineage is we're looking at right now. And Tubal Cain's in all these different directions. And so the mission of Cush and Mitzrayim and Put went to the children of Tubal Cain, and they are in these places like Saudi Arabia and Bulgaria and Kenya. There's an awful lot. That's why when I'm moving this, it's jumping so much, because there's an awful lot of them. Let's see if I can move it more slowly. Yeah, I can. So Bulgaria and Kenya and Saudi Arabia and Iraq and Sudan. What's that? That one's Nigeria, United States, Saudi Arabia, Gambia, United States. This is a huge haplogroup. You can see as I'm moving down the little tab on the right-hand side it appears to be not moving at all as we go down this list. So we're not going to go down this list forever. United States, United Arab Emirates, what's that one? Congo, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Kenya, Bahrain, what's that one? South Africa, and is that Zimbabwe? Yeah, and Bahrain, Kuwait, goes down Bahrain, Yemen, Kenya, Saudi Arabia, these are the ancient ones, and then Ethiopia, Saudi, what's that one? Is Switzerland, France, Yemen, Lebanon, Lithuania, and Romania, Ukraine, Slovakia. And what group are we on, which comes down to this? This is EM44. It's like a European branch. And then we have Cuba and is that Portugal? Portugal and Saudi Arabia, United States and Mali, Senegal, Portugal, United States, England, Italy, England, United States. I think it's Gambia, and then what's that one? Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Gambia. Is that Puerto Rico? Yeah, Puerto Rico. Is that Haiti? Mm-hmm. And what's that one? Barbados, Gambia, Sierra Leone. And we appear to have not moved much. We keep on going down. You'll get an idea. Yemen, Saudis, Kuwait, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi, Kuwait. And these are all the two Balkans, specifically from who were approached by the mission of Mizraim and Cush and Put. All going down there. If you want to go, you can have a look at the haplogroup yfull.com/tree/E to have a look and study it in detail, because it is an insanely massive family. It's absolutely gigantic. You've got lots of different groups there as it goes down. Just zoom through it now to try and get there. I'll just zoom through so you can get an idea of how many countries around the world there are. And there are a lot of people have been tested positive for this group. My own DNA lineage is, of course, on this page as well, as are 25% of every Jewish community on the planet. And you can see, even though I'm whizzing down, how slowly the little tab is moving as we're going through, to give you an idea of how gigantic this group is and how many people have been tested positive for this group. So high probability that you also belong to a group like this or another group, which we're going to get onto soon. We've looked at Japheth, which is huge numbers, of course, because of China. There's like a billion people in China and Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan and the Turkish people in general. There's lots of them. But this is also an insanely huge group. This is all of Africa. This is massive as well. So Japheth has been enlarged, but it's not as large when you consider it to this population, which is hugely common, very, very hugely common. The reason why it's been tested so well compared to the Japhetic sort of missions, or the Jabal people, why have more people with Tubal Cain been tested than people in the Jabal, is because Jabal people are not living so much in the Western countries which have access to the YFull website. In China and Kyrgyzstan and Central Asia, they don't know about these things. So you've only got the English speakers from amongst those groups who have done their test and they have added it to this group. Whereas all of these people who are untested on this would have would be English speakers, mostly, predominantly English speakers. So it shows you really not a reflection of the size of the haplogroup C and the haplogroup E, but rather the number of English speakers who are descended from these groups. Okay, so not necessarily meaning that this is bigger than the Jabal group. The Tubal-Cain is not necessarily bigger than the Jabal group. It just means that more English speakers are among the Tubal-Cain group than among the Jabal group. Specifically, we're looking only on this page. We're looking only at descendants of the Tubal-Cain people who were approached by the missions of Mitzrayim and Cush and Put. We're not looking at any other groups, just those who were affected by those missions. So that's a huge number of people, as you can see, English-speaking people who've been tested and belong to this group. But this is nothing compared to what you're going to see next. We haven't got enough time to go through it, so I'm just going to whiz to the bottom now, and you can go and explore that yourself later. Okay, so that's the end of the Tubal-Cain. So we've done the Jabal group, and we've done the Tubal-Cain group. So then the last group is, of course, the Shem group. Now, don't think to yourself that, okay, so all of these people are basically Semitic. No, these people are Kenites. We've been looking at Kenites on this list, on this family tree list. We've been looking at Kenites. So don't think to yourself for a moment that we've been looking at Semitic people. These are Kenites who have been influenced by Semitic people. The Semitic people are just the missions which go to them. The children of Japheth, the children of Shem. Semitic, remember, being a word meaning people of Hashem. Nothing to do with the third son of Noah here. Recall it says, the biblical sort of commentary title says the Semites, but that's because this has been inserted by English speakers who haven't understood the intention behind the Jewish creation, the Ashkenazi Jewish creation of the term Semitic, and meaning people of Hashem, not meaning people descended of Shem, which was a ridiculous way of talking about. People of Hashem is correct meaning of Semitic, not just people who speak a particular language family which is associated with the mission of Shem and his descendants. But, we can't control the narrative once it's slipped away from the hands of Jewish people. We can't control the narrative. Non-Jewish people will corrupt the narrative and change the story as they like and misunderstand it and bury the truth, because that's what they do. That's called being trampled by the Gentiles. The truth is trampled by the Gentiles. People who haven't got understanding. They're people who don't understand. And they're not interested in consulting those who hold the oracles of God, those who Jesus appointed as being in the seat of Moses and to obey and observe everything they tell you. No, they're not interested in that. They just want to trample on the truth and change it. And so even in translations like this, the Berean Study Bible, you get completely bogus subtitles like this, which are a result of Gentile trampling. So if they want to consult if they love Jesus, they'd be listening to what the scribes and Pharisees have got to say. If they love Jesus, they would be listening to what those who hold the oracles of God have got to say. But no, they couldn't be bothered to interest. So never mind. Doesn't matter. Such is life. Such is the universe. Such the way things go. The truth will always be buried. So although it says the Semites here, we're going to hide that. Say, no, that is corrupt interpretation. These are simply nothing but the mission of Shem and his children. Okay, so Shem was the forefather of all the sons of Eber, and Eber means Hebrew. That's the word. So these were all Hebrews, definitely. Even if you doubt that the others were Hebrews, these are all Hebrews. So the sons of Shem. Now Shem's mission, they went to this group. Haplogroup F. Now, if you thought that haplogroup D was big, haplogroup F is actually massive, but mainly because of what happens to the haplogroup R section, which is insane. And if you click on it, which I'm not going to do because it'll make the page so long that we won't get through it. But there are quite a lot of different haplogroups in haplogroup F. Unfortunately, you won't see many of the flags unless we click through, but we've got a basic idea of where some of these are from. Okay, so this is the Jubal group, the people who are famous for music. Okay, Jubal group, and it's Shem's mission, and his children went and did their mission among the Jubalites, the people who are and that's where you get the word jubilee from, and jubilation, and all that party happiness sort of thing. These are the Jubilites. These are the original party animals who like musicians. So the Tubal Cain were actually the original smiths. They were very good at smithing metal. They were specifically the goldsmiths. They were very, very good at smithing gold. So the Tubal Cain are goldsmiths. And the Jabal people we talked about, they're good at making tents. They're good architects. They're very good. Nomadic civilization comes from them as well. And these people were excellent at music. That's what the Jubal group were. And Shem's mission was to the musicians, basically. And as I said, it doesn't list too many of their locations, but we've got Malaysia, we've got Philippines, we've got India, we've got Russia. They're all over the place. There's no specific place that they belong to. Russia, Uzbekistan, Armenia is there, Italy, Poland, Czech Republic, England, Brazil, Spain, England, Scotland, Portugal, Poland, England, Italy, Portugal, Spain, Britain, France, Italy, Spain, Sweden, Slovenia, Poland, Albania, Turkey, Greece. They're all over the place. Okay, so you want to have a more detailed look, you can look, there's Russia again there, you can go and click on any of those. And that's an absolutely gigantic, massive haplogroup. People who love music. Obviously, people who are good at music. There's huge numbers of people across the planet who descend from that lineage. And so the mission of Shem, this is the lineage. I didn't show you the picture here we were talking about there. That's what I was just reading out. And this mission of Shem's children was to them. So we have Elam was one of the missionaries. Ashur himself was one of the missionaries. And we talked about Ashur a little bit earlier. It talks about Ashur's mission up here was not too far from Nimrod's mission. Ashur went and built a mission in Nineveh and Rehoboth-ir and Kala and Resen, between Nineveh and the great city of Kala. So it talks about Ashur's mission up there as well. So he was doing that. And Arphaxad, Urfachesed is one of the ones who was also on a mission in the Middle East. Lud and Aram, and Aram's descendants Uz and Hul and Gether were all missionaries, spreading the laws of Noah among the children of Jubal, the Jubilites. And Arphaxad was the father of Shelah, and Shelah was the father of Eber, Hebrew. Okay, the first person called Hebrew. And the children of Hebrew, the missionaries descended from Hebrew, were Peleg, because in his days the earth was divided, and his brother was Joktan, who's called Hud in the Islamic tradition. Some people think that Eber is Hud because, it's actually his son, but it's not possible that Eber is Hud, because the Quran actually negates the idea that Eber was Hud by saying that Abraham was not a Hudite, and Abraham descends from Peleg, not from Joktan. So it's the other side, Joktan's sides are the Hudites, Hudan. So Joktan's mission included Almodad and Sheleth and Hazarmaveth and Jerah and Hadoram and Uzal and Dikla and Obal and Abimael and Sheba, a different Sheba, and Ophir, which is where we get the word Africa, comes from Ophir here. This is Ophir, the main missionary to Africa, very successful. Havilah, Jobab, and these were all the missionaries come from Joktan. The territory extended from Meshia to Sephar and in the eastern hill country. And then these are the sons of Shem according to their clans. So that's the entirety there. We haven't gone through on this page, on chapter 10, we haven't gone through the descendants of Peleg. So we have to go to the next page, chapter 11, to have a look and see who descends from Peleg, or which missionaries come from Peleg's lineage. And so we know that Peleg comes from Arphaxad. He was the son of Eber, who was the son of Shelah, and Shelah was the son of Arphaxad. So Arphaxad was the father of Shelah, and Shelah was the father of Eber, Hebrew, and Hebrew was the father of Peleg, and of Joktan. And these are all uncircumcised Hebrews, by the way. So Peleg became the father of Reu. Sounds like a name of somebody from Street Fighter 2. And Reu was the father of Serug. And Serug was the first apostate. He was the first person to reject the laws of Noah and do the exact opposite. He decided to do the exact opposite of the laws of Noah. Instead of worship God, basically worship Satan instead. So then from Serug's lineage come this is called the Hanputa, corruption, apostasy, Hanif. So he was the first Hanif. So from him come the Hanifians. Now, it doesn't mean they were all non-believers. It just means they descended from an apostate, somebody who rejected the religion of Noah and did the exact opposite and created chaos in the world instead of trying to create peace. So Serug's son was Nahor, who did the same and was brought up in the same false religion that Serug created. And Nahor became the father of Terah, who was, he made idols for a living. And Terah was the father of Abram, who had enough and said, that's it. And Abram and his brother Nahor and Haran had enough of their father's corruption and decided to try and seek the one true God and find the religion that they were supposed to follow, the religion of their ancestor Shem. And that's why Abram, who became Abraham, was spoken to by God. And he went to, because he wanted to find the truth, and he went to find Shem and the school of Shem and learned about Noahide Judaism from that school. And that's very important stuff that you should know. So all of them were the mission in this group, in haplogroup F, which has got a huge number of people. That doesn't mean that people in haplogroup F are all then the only Semites. No, that's not true. It doesn't mean that one of these is the mission that Abraham went to, because no, that's not true either. What it does mean is that one of these groups was the mission that Serug went to, and so most of the false religions will come from that group. And from among that group that Serug went to, Abraham comes from that group. That's the story. But it doesn't really matter, because Abraham left that group behind and went to try it with his brothers and went to try and find the truth to learn the laws of Noah from other people, other descendants of Shem who knew the truth. And they ended up in Canaan, which is where Shem himself was supposed to be still living. At least Shem's dynasty was supposed to be still living in Jerusalem, which was called Salem at that time. And Shem's dynasty were the Melchizedek, the kings of righteousness. And so Abraham ended up finding Melchizedek and learning the truth from Melchizedek. And Abraham was made into a priest, an eternal priest, a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. Okay, so that's that. All right, so I've explained something about the brotherhood of mankind. It's absolutely a scientific fact with this haplogroup tree. We all of us, every single one of us, all human beings on the planet, fit somewhere on this tree. This is the tree, the family tree of all human beings. And we're all Kenites. Genetically, we're all Kenites, descendants of Cain. But of the descendants of Cain, we have the Jabalites, the Jubilites, and the Tubal-Cainites. And the missionaries of Noah's sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, went to those three groups. And that's why you'll find the stories, Semitic stories, anywhere on the planet, because that's where the mission went from. Hope you found that interesting. I should have actually shared that when I was talking about you. That's the tree I'm talking about there. The lineage here. All of us fit on that tree. Okay. So I hope you found that interesting. We do have some comments from people in the comments there. I'm not going to go through them because I've run out of time. We have Tim Brang, though, I will mention because he's a friend of the channel. So shalom. He says, Sabbat shalom hakam. Feeling blessed. I'm glad you're feeling blessed. God bless you. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you've learned a lot from what we've been teaching here and understand and will not misunderstand like those crazy psychopaths and people who suffer from neurotic religiosity who try to present a completely irrational and insane interpretation of Scripture. It can be understood in a completely rational way, And that is what we have to do to destroy all these false religions which have been destroying the planet for so long and will continue to destroy the planet if we allow their religions to continue. We have to get back to the rational, logical, correct, sane understanding of Scripture. Otherwise, the chaos will go forever. And it's not going to do that if we all just say, oh, screw religion, we're all going to become the atheists from now on. It's only going to do that if we come around to a logical, rational way of understanding things. Thank you very much for watching. God bless you all. Take care and Shabbat Shalom.